So that was in the office. Compare now this to if you're working either in a small office, home office all the time, or most of the time. Sometimes you're in the office, sometimes you're at home, maybe you're on the road a lot of the time or some of the times, and how can you get protection no matter where you are? So that's what this segment will cover. Hey, firewall that I just showed you a couple of slides ago, perfect for a home office, small office. Nice, they have models that are sized just for the home office and provide this full-featured firewall with all the securities, including everything that we talked about before. The important part of this, when it comes to collaboration, is your traffic shaping, your path selection, and your priority queuing, right? To make sure that if you're at home, maybe you're on broadband, maybe you don't have as much internet to play with as you do, of course, when you're in the office. But what traffic you have, it'll prioritize the collaboration services. Okay, so again, the Meraki firewall is great if you have it in the office and you have it at remote locations. Managing the connectivity of that wide area network over the internet or over a LAN or private leased lines if you want is very easy, right? It's a lot easier to understand and comprehend. Okay. And then we'll talk about the Cisco Secure Client. So does anybody here familiar with AnyConnect from days past? I mean, just show of hands. Yeah. So AnyConnect been around a long time. You use it connect to the VPN, right? To your home network from home. Well, Cisco's switched this up a bit, introduced a new product called Cisco Secure Client, but used the same interface that AnyConnect had before. So it looks the same. You can see it here. It looks the same as it did before. But now VPN is just one component, AnyConnect VPN. It's still called AnyConnect VPN within the Cisco Secure Client, the overall modular application. But you can now plug in other applications into Cisco Secure Client, including the Umbrella roaming security module, which we'll talk about here shortly, or an ICE posture module to make sure that if you're going to connect to the internet or to a VPN, this doesn't have to include VPN. You can have all these components or some of these components and nothing to do with VPN if you're all cloud, right? But so Umbrella still applies. The ICE posture module can make sure that you are compliant before you have connectivity to network infrastructures. Your secure endpoint connector. Secure endpoint is, in a nutshell, anti-malware. We'll talk about that here shortly. Or a network access module to, if you're in the office, to provide 802.1x connectivity so your computer and your user can simultaneously log in. So why do you care about that? Well, that keeps, you guys still hear me? Oh, good. I thought I turned it off by accident. That provides simultaneous authentication for your computer and your user at the same time, which prevents people from bringing in their own devices and connecting it to your network infrastructure. Right, so it enforces only corporate assets are able to connect. Also, the Thousand Eyes Endpoint Agent, very powerful wide area network and internet and WAN and LAN performance metrics tool. I mean, that's a very high level understanding of what that is. And finally, security posture module, which is sort of a lightweight version of the ICE posture module for those of you that don't have ICE. So it does a lot, all these modules. I don't often see all of them running within the Cisco Secure Client, but I do often see AnyConnect VPN and the Umbrella client, because Umbrella is a very powerful product. Speaking of Umbrella, Cisco Umbrella. Who knows what Umbrella was before Cisco acquired them? OpenDNS. Yeah, I give you one, but you got one already. That's right. So OpenDNS has been around for, fill in the blank with a number that I should know, but I don't know, years. Right? It's been out there for a long time. And then there's had zero downtime because they have built-in global redundancy. There's never been any outages with Umbrella or OpenDNS before that because of their global redundancy. It provides, I mean, working from a basic level and getting more complex, content filtering, right? So you're filtering out to make sure that you're going to only the sites you're supposed to connect to. But DNS security, meaning that it will evaluate something in, let's say, from one aspect, from a browser, if you're putting in a URL there, it'll evaluate that URL before it starts passing traffic to prevent it from, as opposed to the firewall that'll sort of catch it in the path and say, whoa, stop it. Umbrella will keep it from happening in the first place, from even getting out of the endpoint. Secure Web Gateway, that's a proxy, right? But if those of you that might have used a proxy in the past and don't have a good feeling about it, this is all in the cloud and managed by Cisco. And what you get with a proxy is all traffic that goes through a proxy then can be evaluated rather than just DNS security that says, well, I'm only going to evaluate these fully qualified domain names to see if they are acceptable or not. A secure web gateway or proxy actually redirects that traffic through the proxy, which allows you now to have full visibility into HTTPS traffic. So HTTPS traffic is nearly all traffic now, right? You don't find much HTTP out in the world anymore. Pretty much the browsers want to send you through HTTPS anyway. So that means if there are threats, if you don't have something that can see within that traffic, then threats can go right through your security tools because it's encrypted, right? That's what encryption's all about. You're going from your computer to the destination server encrypted. So if you're running a proxy, that gives you the ability to decrypt that and to inspect it for threats and then to re-encrypt it again. So how do those things pertain to collaboration? As Andy mentioned, you can do file transfers through WebEx. You can put in URLs in WebEx, right? So there's a means to still get, to obtain malware or to get yourself onto a site, maybe a phishing site, just by clicking a URL. So if you have Umbrella, one of the strong points of Umbrella is especially if you're in a place at home or in the office where you're connecting to multiple cloud infrastructures, which is most people nearly all of the time are connecting to Microsoft 365 or Google or AWS or any of your cloud applications as a service, right? Those are multiple simultaneous cloud infrastructures. And so why it's called a secure web gateway is to make sure that you don't get a threat coming from this cloud provider that hairpins to another cloud provider, right? Does that make sense? So that can be a problem if you don't have something watching all of that. Because usually if you have something at the edge, it's either detecting inbound and outbound, but not any of your hairpin traffic. So very powerful in that aspect. Cloud Access Security Broker can identify cloud applications and allow you to do some access control or control within those clouds. Say you don't want to store social security numbers on Dropbox. Right? It allows you to set up some granular rules like that. That's what CASB does. And then the Secure Internet Gateway is sort of a step up. And the Secure Internet Gateway is where you're doing all of the above functions and features here that it shows under DNS security, and with a secure proxy, but it can also deliver or provide a cloud-delivered firewall. So if you're home or wherever you are, and you're able to do this, you can bring along your little firewall wherever you are, right? But it's in the cloud, right? So when it allows you some connectivity to do this, the same sort of basic functionality that basic firewalls can do. And that opens the door to doing intrusion prevention, right? So intrusion prevention, you think about intrusion prevention, all that is applications that have vulnerabilities that are able to be exploited. So intrusion prevention recognizes these exploit attempts and drops them. So that's all intrusion prevention is, right? It just knows, oh, I see this as an exploit, so I'm going to drop the traffic. You get that with your cloud-delivered firewall. And data loss prevention, that's what I talked about a minute ago, where let's say you're trying not to leak confidential data, social security numbers, driver license numbers, HIPAA information, PCI DSS compliance information. You're trying not to pass that through. It allows that opportunity with Cisco Umbrella. Cisco Umbrella is ever changing and ever growing and ever adding new features. So it's very, very powerful and scalable and modular. Very powerful. To bring it back, just to remember we're talking about within the context of collaboration, Cisco Secure Endpoint. Touched on this before. You can say, hey, here's a file passed across to you in WebEx, let's say, and then you can download that file and it could be malware, right? So you still need endpoint protection. Cisco Secure Endpoint has So the terms that have evolved over the years are antivirus, anti-malware, and now the term really is EDR, endpoint detection and response. So endpoint detection and response is all of the above, but also with a dashboard with a ton of visibility of what's going on within your network that you previously could not see. It was all sort of, behind the magic curtain. You wouldn't know what's going on with your antivirus or your anti-malware. It just either dropped files or let them through. But with Cisco Secure Endpoint, it provides a ton of visibility. So if you happen to have like a SecOps team, or perhaps a SOC that you're subscribed to, or a managed services provider that's a SOC, they can digest those logs from an EDR and get a really good idea of the activity that's going on in your network and be able to be much more proactive when there's threatening activity pertaining to files, right? Malware. Yep. So that's your anti-malware security intelligence that ties into Talos, the same Talos that most of the Cisco security products tie into, so that you get, Cisco's got more visibility across the world than any of the other competitors. So it's got eyes all over the planet, good places and bad places, and so it digests all of that. So anybody everywhere, it's sort of for the people, by the people, if you will. That's how security intelligence works. When you have a massive company like Cisco that's well deployed across the planet. Multiple engines to be able to look at files from different perspectives, if you will. And continuous file analysis with retrospection. So if a file comes through and it's 0 day, you don't know, nobody knows that there's a problem with it. So, your EDR is going to say, this file doesn't look malicious. Nobody's reported it as malicious, so I'm going to let it go through. But then an hour, a day, a week, or a month, or a couple of months later, whoops, that file was malicious, then Cisco Secure Endpoint can say, well, I know everywhere in your network where that file's been deployed, and I can go quarantine that file, even if it's at rest and not being acted upon, which is very, very powerful. That is a key differentiator. So file analytics is when you get a brand new file. Say I create an Excel file, and I attach it to a WebEx, right, to Andy, and I say, hey, have a look at this budget information. But it's got malware in it, hidden in there somewhere, like all Office documents are able to have malware attached to them, right? So as it comes through, it's going to say, well, I don't know this file. Nobody's ever seen this file across the whole planet because I just created it right now, right? It's brand new. So then file analytics is a sandbox application. It takes that file and pushes it to a sandbox and sort of detonates the file, if you will, to look for malicious activity, to look for indications of compromise, was the old term for that. So, and it compares that file to the structure of other known malware. It just analyzes that file every way that it can. And then, plugs it back into Talos in such a way that the next person in the planet that looks for that specific file says, oh, somebody else already analyzed this. I don't need to reanalyze it. Right, so that's what sandboxing is. Very powerful. And patient zero determination. So in that scenario I told you, I attached that Excel file, but I'm a sneaky bad guy, and I sneak in a 0 day exploit into the code that's within an Excel file, and then I send it to Andy over WebEx, and he looks at it, and then he sends it to a few people to say, hey, check it out, and so maybe 50 people in the organization have this file, but the malware is not coded to trigger for a month, right? It just lays low and is a sleeper, and so it's already been through the defenses, and but down the road it's determined, whoa, hey, this file is malicious. It was reported somewhere due to its activities reported as malicious. Now Cisco Secure Endpoint knows everywhere where that file has been deployed to and can grab that file, but also it has threat hunting capabilities, right? Your Cisco Secure Endpoint and your Cisco Secure Firewall and your Meraki MX and Umbrella, and if you have email security, Cisco email security, all have this same technology tied in. And so with threat hunting, you have the ability to look to say, where did this malicious file originate from? It came from me, right? I'm the one who sent the file, so you can pinpoint, was this downloaded over the internet? Was this downloaded as an email attachment? Was this sent over, was it picked up from the internet from a Starbucks somewhere? That patient zero information, again, that's good for people that have a SecOps team or they use a SOC, right? Very powerful. So you know where your weaknesses are, right? If something came in that way, okay, now we need to fix that or adjust our rules at something, okay? So in review, then when you're in the office, security, Cisco Identity Services Engine is to control connectivity to your physical infrastructure for any of your collaboration components, right? Who and what are you? Where are you allowed to connect to, and where have you been? That's what Cisco ICE does. It can connect devices using 802.1x, or using MAB, or using profiling, or any combination of the above for any type of device to make sure that that device or the software on a particular device is permitted to connect to the physical network. Cisco Secure Firewall, again, your top-notch sort of apex next-generation firewall, high threat mitigation efficacy, learning with security intelligence, learns your network, stays up to date, stays dynamic. Or your Meraki MX, you might have a combination of both. We actually have both at our office. So Meraki MX has the ability to do sort of a lighter weight version of what the Cisco Secure Firewall can do, less the learning, but add on SD-WAN, right? So you can control your paths, your priority queuing, your traffic selection, for quality of service of your collaboration traffic. And then while you're remote or hybrid, what I just said for Meraki MX, same thing for the individual that's out on the road. And your Cisco Secure Client, again, modular for various modules of protection for any of that traffic that's coming to and from an endpoint. And then Cisco Umbrella for protection between malicious infrastructure, protection between cloud infrastructures to mitigate malicious activity, okay? And then Cisco Secure Endpoint is your endpoint detection and response to really analyze any of the files that come across or may have been downloaded through, let's say, WebEx.